everybody. I'm Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, and everybody's got a price for lazy booking. Hey, this is your Olympic hero, Kurt Angle, and you're listening to Lazy Booking. No, it's true. It's damn true. Ho! Hey, folks, I'm WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and if you want to know what's going on in wrestling, check out Lazy Bookings. Ho!
And welcome, one and all, to another edition of Lazy Booking right here on A2DRadio.com. We are live in the BMW of Atlantic City Studios here in Mount Ephraim, New Jersey, brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC, your certified public accountants. They are located at 301 Oxford Valley Road in Yardley, PA. And you can give them a call, 215-369-3300. Prepare yourself for next year. Be ready, be prepared, and call Gibson Mayer.
Dynamite paper slam, Maddie. Dynamite paper slam.
I love how you just come in with the hush after I just brought all that fire, and then you're just like, thank you
Well
all.
done.
Welcome
Well
to
done,
Lazy
sir. Well
Booking.
done.
That was fire.
Welcome back, guys. Lazy Booking live here on A2DRadio.com. We got Chrome and Maddie back with us this week, Mike Mataraki. We got Ryan the Brodo over on the ones and twos. Mr. I nicknamed myself.
Oh, God, we're already starting.
You know, coming in hot. You know, I didn't think I'd have to put on the headset just yet. We do this every week, Chrome. Every week.
And it's going to continue.
Yes, I wouldn't expect
So-
anything other than that.
So Ryan is the new J-Bo of A2D.
No, see, this is so you understand it. You understand it. I'm gonna go away now.
Oh, man.
Jaybird.
Guys, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope. Thank you for joining us. We got a lot to talk about. Raw and SmackDown, Money in the Bank coming up. Our poll question, Scanzano Sports. Pretty simple, scanzanosports.com. Will Ronda Rousey win the Raw Women's title at Money in the Bank? Yes or no? We're going to talk that. I know you got a lot to say about that.
I do, yes.
And whatever else you guys want to talk about. We got some news items. And, of course, we are now ending the show, as usual, with This Day in Wrestling History. And a few things that we kind of looked at. Some interesting things on May 17th in the history of pro wrestling.
It's gonna be a delightful one.
Delightful!
Ooh, I'm getting a premonition.
A premonition. So, guys, obviously,
What a fucking tease that was.
no, so subtle. Like that was top notch, fellas. Top notch.
Subtle. like a 2x4 to the back of the head, kind of subtle.
Oh, thank you, Hacksaw. Yeah, I mean, Facebook's going crazy already a little bit here. We got, well, not crazy. We got people chiming in, though. Frank Vespi, hey, yo, sorry to bother you at work. I think she'll get the briefcase. At least it sets her up for a title match at SummerSlam. I think he put Summerfest, but I think he meant SummerSlam.
The Budweiser Summerfest.
Coliseum Home Videos 1992 Summerfest. I'm Sean Moody.
Oh, God.
Let's throw it up to your ring announcer, Mike McGurk.
He's digging your Coyotes jersey, by the way.
Awesome.
And Frank also says, shit, I misread that. She loses by a dusty finish, but wins at Summerfest.
Summerfest.
He's still digging the jersey, though.
I bet you that's autocorrect killing him, too. Summerfest.
David
great.
Rosca says, let's go Coyotes. Hashtag Ronda Rocket Rowdy Rousey will be the new Raw Women's Champion.
Oh, that was a mouthful.
It was. I can't believe I got it out without stumbling on it. I almost stumbled more than Titus on that one. I pulled a Titus. Greg Malakovic.
I still say he should have just crawled on the
No,
I mean,
it was so perfect the way
it
it
could have
happened.
been worse. She could have tripped coming into the studio, you know,
That's
and
true.
then just have to sell that.
And then just have to pop out from under the table in the front.
Maybe we'll get a Dickie-thon we're on in today.
Greg Malakovic. Oh, what's up, fellas?
What's
I'm
up,
torn on this
Greg?
one, boys. I feel like they're going to put it on her, but I think it's too early for her to get that title push. It seems to probably be a popular opinion. What do you get? I know you got a couple over there. Read those.
David Rosca was just chiming in saying Ronda Rousey would be the next Raw Women's Champ. Goes on to say the same thing.
Rosca does the jump back and forth.
I like
both.
it.
Me too.
And then Todd Womack chiming in, Philly Dilly guys.
Silly dilly.
And he also says, why did they put Ronda in a title match? Wasn't she supposed to be in a program with Natalia?
I don't know that she's supposed to be in a program with Natalia. I think they're using Natalia to give her a little bit of credibility and notoriety. I mean, they are actually really good friends. She trained her.
Well, I think that's the thing is they're
it's
trying
a rub.
they're trying to play up the angle that Natalia's her trainer.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily a full-blown program.
No, it's going to be at some point.
Well, yeah, at
Just
some
not right
point.
now.
Frank said, "Now, just making fun of that Hangover guy's mic mishap."
Oh.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I don't think that there was a program, at least not anytime soon, with Natalya. They just turned Natalya. I don't see them turning Ronda right away.
Natty's also in the Money in the Bank match,
She
correct?
is,
So
yes.
then obviously you need something for Ronda to do on that pay-per-view. So
Yeah, no, I agree. But I mean, I don't feel like it's too early for Ronda. As weird as that sounds, I do find it interesting though. So first of all, WWE is not stupid. Clearly, they use a big event like that NBC event,
the upfronts, yeah, absolutely.
where you have Deborah Messing taking pictures and posting pictures with the Raw Women's title.
Right.
They're able to, when they show the promo package, show all these stars and this breaking news, breaking
Right.
challenge that happens on the red carpet. It's smart. I mean, it's smart business, and this isn't. It's not going to be a Ring of Honor type of a deal. Ronda's a big name, and they're gonna continue to utilize all those tools and take advantage of that to get the spotlight on.
Now, do you think that if Ronda had been in WWE for a little longer and was, not as quote-unquote green, do you think that they would have kayfabed it? Because it was kind of more of just a straight, like, hey, you want to challenge me? Okay, we'll wrestle at Money in the Bank. It wasn't really any, like, kind of building up any kind of, like, promo or anything like that.
I don't think they would have kayfabed it because they were at a mainstream event. I do think, though, that Ronda would have maybe taken it a little more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
But I'd like to get Maddie's thoughts on this because you and I we've talked already.
We have a similar.
And
yeah,
you know that I have an entire theory on this that I'm ready to
that I agree
to
with.
share with the audience.
Yeah.
But I want to
Interesting.
get Maddie's point of view on this first.
All right, so before we go to Theory Time with Mike Mataraki.
Pillow talk.
Yeah.
Pillow talk
Pillow
with Mike
talk.
Back to Pillow
Mataraki.
Talk. I would say
With the hairy chest.
for the viewing
Keep that
pleasure.
zipped up.
That's what.
Hi-oh!
When you do that, you'd have to play like HBK's theme throughout the video.
I don't have that in the playlist yet.
Unfortunately not.
And our audio will be gone in 21 seconds.
Yeah. Damn copyright. Anyway, so my
We could
thoughts.
sing it.
I feel like you two would take us off the air for other reasons.
Probably.
These guys, that is a terrible
That's
terrible
against our
program.
terms of service.
What the hell are these four jabronis doing?
It's got a freaking age restriction on it.
But no, go ahead, Maddie.
What do you got, Maddie?
So-
I'm definitely interested in your thoughts on this.
So for me, I actually like it because, one, you're utilizing Ronda Rousey in a really intelligent way. Because you could play her up like you do a Brock Lesnar. She's a big name. People know who she is. You can easily put her in a major program to draw in people to a pay-per-view because Backlash obviously wasn't a thrilling show. So
Understatement of the year.
easily you now have much, much more interest going into this one with Ronda's name now attached to it and a title situation on top of that.
Real quick. I didn't hate Backlash. I didn't think it was.
I did.
I didn't think it was pay-per-view worthy. I just thought it was like a really good house show.
Like the greatest Royal Rumble ever.
I thought it made the
basically.
greatest Royal Rumble, and we talked about it last week. I thought it made the greatest Royal Rumble look like a SummerSlam or WrestleMania event.
Yeah.
All right, and that's fair. Please continue.
So with that being said, though, it is definitely like they're kind of utilizing her the same way they do Brock, where they're not going to have her on every week. They're going to bring her on occasions, like if they're hitting a big town, like say they hit Philly and they want to bring Ronda out because it's Philly, or they want to hit New York with Ronda.
Right.
And now they're utilizing her to get into a big program with Nia, get her more experience in the ring. On top of that, too, get her name in the title picture. I don't think it's a bad thing for her to do. For her to win it, that's a different story. I think they can easily work, do a little two-step around it and have some technicality or what have you. Not always the greatest finish, but it works in this case. And that way you can get that kind of, okay, I could, if she does a great job in this match and Nia does a great job in this match, then you could buy it. And then you're like, oh, okay. So maybe we'll see Ronda win a belt sooner rather than later. and going down the line. You know, it could be a possibility, but I like how they're using this. I don't think it's too soon. I think it's intelligent use of Ronda Rousey, really.
Agreed. But I'm going to let you give your theory because I agree with your theory, but I have a couple other additional layers as to how they played it out.
Okay, because I was just gonna say, and I'm glad you used the term layers, because that's kind of where I see this going. Maddie, I completely agree with everything that you just said. I think this is an extremely, extremely smart use of her star power. But I think, to me, that's just the first layer of this thing. I think the second layer is that you keep in mind how the challenge went down. Nia walks up. She challenges Ronda. Ronda says, oh, no, I haven't been around long enough. I'm not ready for that. There are other more deserving women that need to get that shot. Nia says that she doesn't see any of them around here, and I'm challenging you. Enter Charlotte with more than a subtle nudge to Ronda to take the match, to the point where it almost backs Ronda into a corner that if she doesn't take the match, she looks weak. To me, what happens now is Charlotte wins the Money in the Bank, and either Ronda beats Nia Jax and Charlotte comes down and cashes in right away on Ronda and beats her, or Charlotte pulls a Seth Rollins and comes down and cashes during the match and winds up beating Ronda for Nia's title. But to me, this whole thing sets up Ronda and Charlotte on one level, and on the next level or the next layer, 6-8 months down the road, starts to set up the 4 horsewomen of NXT versus the 4 horsewomen of MMA, who, if the audience is not aware, all 4 are now under contract to WWE.
No, that's actually, it makes perfect sense because you know that it would make for a great Survivor Series matchup because they don't want to do the retrend of Raw versus SmackDown. They've been doing that for the last 2 years. It does create that huge buzz. I'm like, holy crap, we got the 4 horsemen of MMA, the 4 horsemen of wrestling. Who's going to win? Who's the better side? That does create that. I think that's actually that theory probably is exactly what they're trying to do.
And I will say that if that is the direction that they're going, it's got Triple H's fingerprints all over.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
because
sure.
it is the best example that I can remember in quite a while that has long-term vision and multiple layers of booking that every part of it makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's something that I think WWE, sometimes they do it, but sometimes they shy away from it, and then they plant seeds, but they don't follow through with them. And then it just looks stupid because you're like, why did you do that then? Like we had last year. How many seeds were planted that they never followed through on? Like, when is that going to happen? And now you see it, and it's too late.
Yeah.
So I like to see them get back to that a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm going to add on to that. There's like 3 Facebook comments I'm going to read off here. David Roska, Backlash was crap. Yes, it was. Michael Klankoff says, bring back Eugene, damn it. He wants Eugene back so damn bad. Kristen Gideon says, hey, guys, I think it might be a good match, but I don't think Ronda will win the title. It's not her time just yet. And Steve Jenkins says, who's your favorite current male and female WWE wrestler? We'll touch on that in a minute. I'm going to say, to add to that, I'm down with your theory. I think that there's a very strong possibility of that. I think the setup of it, again, I think that there's the layer of setting up or finally just kicking off the Charlotte Ronda inevitable feud that we're gonna
It is
get.
inevitable, yeah.
But even so, they're trying to cut off the naysayers ahead of time. Like, okay, you have the women's champion, you have Charlotte. These 2 women are on the red carpet with her, and Ronda's saying, I'm not worthy enough of the opportunity yet. She's getting the rub by Nia saying, I didn't challenge them. I'm challenging
you, right.
And then Charlotte, who's is the queen for all intents and purposes of professional wrestling, coming in and saying, you need to take that.
Yeah.
You need to take that. Don't say no.
Yeah.
It's a lot of what you're saying, and I think it's also trying to head off the critics ahead of time, and also showing, hey, this is the scale that WWE's on, that these women are on. The women's empowerment, they're there at this huge event, and we have this huge thing that happens there. I think there's a lot of layers to it.
Well, there's people that are actually saying, 2 months down the road now, that Ronda's debut was the greatest debut in the history of professional wrestling.
It was pretty good. It was a lot better than people thought it was going to be.
No, I mean, I think we were all there when she showed up, and we were like, "Holy shit!"
But the actual WrestleMania match, that her match for that being her first ever match in a WWE ring on that stage, and that's the thing is technically, it may not have been the best technical match we've ever seen, male or female. But for her to do what she did on that stage and make it look as flawless to a certain extent as she did.
I would say fluid.
Fluid. Oh, yes. Better word. Fluid.
Yes.
There are people that are, that know a hell of a lot more about the business than the four of us sitting here saying that it's the greatest debut in wrestling history. And I think that might be a bit of an exaggeration, but not by much.
No, but what I would say is for all the detractors and all the criticism that came behind it immediately, I think when it comes to when the finished product was put out there in terms of in-ring, it shut a lot of people up.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very quickly.
And by all accounts, they're on the European tour this week, and they've had her basically carrying her team on 6-woman tag matches, but the main matchup, so to speak, has been when Ronda's in the ring, Mickie James is in the ring.
Yeah.
And, Ronda is selling for Mickie. Mickey's teaching her the ins and outs of selling, but she's also letting Ronda get her offense in and making her look like $1 million because that's what a good veteran does.
Yeah, and listen, they're doing the smart thing by surrounding Ronda with the right people, with Mickie James, with Natalya, with Kurt Angle building up to WrestleMania and working with him to train. And I'm sure behind closed doors with Hunter, I'm sure that he's done a lot of he's put his fingertips on as far as her training and making sure that she's, in a position to succeed. With your theory, I would venture to say I don't think she wins because I don't think they're ready for her to take a pin yet. But I could see Charlotte pulling the Seth and then getting the pin on Nia.
It's possible.
Yeah, and actually to jump off that theory then, so that would mean Charlotte would win the Raw Women's title. So then my theory would be with the SmackDown Women's Championship, Carmella would obviously hold that for a while.
Yes.
But then she loses that belt, and then...
Well, I think she's going to lose to Asuka.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going to lead that to. It would be Asuka who would take the belt off of her.
Yeah, because they announced this week that Asuka's going to challenge her at Money in the Bank. I think she drops the title to Asuka.
Well, there's two pieces here, though, that I kind of wanted to jump on because what you said is you don't know if Ronda's ready. They're ready to have her take a pin yet. And I think there's two ways you can look at that. Number one is you don't have her take a pin at all. And next year at WrestleMania, you have the undefeated Ronda Rousey versus the undefeated Asuka. The other part of that is, do you have her take a pin now and more or less, quote unquote, get it out of the way? And it doesn't even necessarily have to be clean. She could get hit with the briefcase.
Well, listen, if she goes down...
it could be a situation where her and Nia are both down on the mat.
Oh, yeah.
And Charlotte just sneaks in and takes the pin. I mean, I think there's a big difference between taking the pin clean in a one-on-one match versus being cashed in on or taking a dusty finish or something like that.
It makes sense because when you think about it, then Charlotte could build up her heel persona again. I could say, I pinned Ronda Rousey, even though you didn't beat her, you just pinned her.
But
and I don't have a problem with either way. I could just see both schools of thought on it.
My thought process behind it is you don't have to take the pin on her yet. You also, I believe that that's more likely to be the program for SummerSlam. And I do believe there is a pay-per-view in between Money in the Bank and SummerSlam, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
So to me, if Charlotte comes in, cashes mid-match, is the one to pin Nia, that can now bridge you to SummerSlam before you get Charlotte.
Wait, hold on. You believe you believe that there is a pay-per-view between Money in the Bank and SummerSlam?
I said that's.
Did you forget the Punjabi prison match in Philadelphia?
I said actually I would like to forget that, but I did
don't
say
blame
that
you.
sarcastically.
Okay.
But you are absolutely right. I would love to forget that.
But here's the thing, though. Are they going to just change Battleground? Like, Punjabi Prison Match just buried it.
I
We're
don't
going to bring back Great Balls
Is
of
it?
Fire.
Maybe.
That's our
I'd rather
next
them do.
pay-per-view
Great Balls of
between-
Fire was a better pay-per-view
It was
at this
a better
point.
pay-per-view. Oh, my
But-
God.
with the piano entrance, intro and outro music. I love it.
But I'm looking at it from that now has the feud right there. First of all, now Ronda has a little chip on her shoulder because she never lost the title match.
Right.
And it also now gives you that feud that'll bridge between to where Nia gets a rematch against Charlotte. She loses. Now you build the title, the build up to Ronda and Charlotte for the big pay-per-view. Other thing I didn't mention that I would like to mention is that it was talked about last year where WWE wanted to make Money in the Bank one of the big pay-per-views along SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Rumble, and Mania. By having Ronda in this position shows that they are trying to make this a big-ticket event.
Absolutely.
And I don't think that that's another reason why it's not a coincidence
Well,
why they made this decision now.
And especially with no Brock Lesnar in sight.
Yes. So with Brock not being a participant in this year's event, that's another big money ticket, a big marquee name that people know
But
that
that's-
draws in another audience.
But that's again though. That's how you can easily, like again, you could use the Ronda card and pull Brock away for a minute and have him stay off,
Sure.
without really drawing that much heat with the fans. You could just say, oh, okay, well we don't need Brock on this pay-per-view. Why? Because we got Ronda Rousey. We don't need
Absolutely.
to worry about that.
Back on Facebook, and then we'll answer Steve's question. He's Greg Worth, who joined us for the WrestleMania pre-show. Greg, what's up, buddy?
What's
He
up,
says,
Greg?
I think Nia versus Ronda won't be good without another competitor. We'll see. I do also think that this gives Nia a formidable foe. I think people were already getting sick of the Alexa Bliss thing. So now it's, okay, let's put her in a big thing, like a match that she can be taken seriously in.
Well, I think also, too, it's a chance for Nia to really, take the reins and be the veteran in a match and lead the way, because she has a chance to make Ronda look really good and at the same token build up her status in the company. Because if you think it's great to, win all the time, it's a great thing when you can do a job, but you could do it so well. You could have a job for life at WWE if you could pull that off.
Oh, for sure. Greg Malakovic says Mandy Rose with emoji and heart eye emojis and fire,
I don't.
which is ironically good enough for Great Balls of Fire as well.
Okay.
It means that she's on fire and it makes his eyes turn into hearts, apparently. And he
But
says,
she's not,
and he says, I don't
Ryan.
know. He says, I don't know if I
Yes.
can name a favorite.
She's not iconic.
Iconic. Greg says, I don't know if I can name a favorite male one right now. A lot of very talented guys working at high levels right now. It's tough. They're giving you a lot to look at. David Rosca says Almas versus Bobby Roode and New Day versus Bludgeon Brothers for the SmackDown Live Tag Team Championships at Backlash. Are you still rebooking Backlash? He was doing this last week, Roscoe. We're done. We're past Backlash. Let's forget about it.
I get it. Backlash.
We're on Money in the Bank.
sucked
It was
for
pretty
the most
bad.
Part, but
He was
please.
rebooking the whole pay-per-view last week on the
Live
show.
in the now, man.
He says, I agree with you, Greg, with my, Mandy Rose. She's as hot as a twin sister of Trish Stratus.
I will say this, and obviously, I think she's absolutely gorgeous. I'm
Yes.
not the biggest fan, but the entrance that they did with her
Yes.
as a single on Monday night
So good.
was ridiculous.
So good. The way they're doing that is so good. And
I love how they center her in the shot,
and everything
but then
is blurry around
they
her.
blur everything else out. Like, it's so awesome.
Well, so
I'm sorry, Tuesday night. My bad.
no, it's interesting because when I watch it, and it's not the same, but I feel like what they were trying to do with Eva Marie by having this like sex bombshell that everything stops around them. And in a different way, they're trying to do the same thing with her. And I think it works. I loved what they were doing with Eva Marie before she ended up getting suspended and being off TV.
Well,
I was a massive fan of that whole gimmick.
Before they completely hot-shotted Eva Marie to the main roster, though, weren't Eva Marie and Mandy Rose tag team partners in NXT?
They were, yep.
And they were both doing like the platinum blonde gimmick and
yeah, they had some kind of they were working together. I remember that. But I look at it and even the way Corey Graves reacts to her, if you go back and listen to the way he reacted to Eva Marie, it is like it's like they just dub the audio from the Eva Marie entrances and just drop in where he says Eva Marie and they go, Mandy Rose.
yeah.
It's fucking great. I love it. It's amazing.
Could I argue they're doing with her what they were originally planning on doing with Emelina?
Emelina is another
Yeah.
one, yeah.
Maybe this is what Emelina was supposed to be. They just found the correct person.
And that could be. I don't think that that's a far-fetched idea at all, actually.
But the great part about it, at least for me, is that she's good enough in the ring to maintain the gimmick. The gimmick doesn't stop when she gets through the ropes.
No, I agree. And if anybody watched that Tough Enough, I was skeptical of her. I thought she would be another Eva Marie trying to exploit it. But, dude, she put the fucking work in.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I always say, if you followed her on Snapchat, especially when she was going through developmental, like, I mean, she had her, her real nice snaps. But she also, like, was constantly with Daria Baronato, Sonya Deville. And they were constantly taking videos and snaps of their working together, workouts and hanging together. It's very obvious that, like, she came into this with a similar pedigree background, but with the right frame of mind coming in.
Well, we talked before that there was a stretch of about 6 months, like literally 6 months straight of NXT house shows where the opening match was Mandy Rose against Daria Baronato every single night, and they just traded victories back and forth for 6 months until they were so good in the ring together that they wound up becoming tag partners.
Rosca says Brock Lesnar's the worst Universal Champion of all time. Well, there's only like 3 of them.
There's only, it's hard to really judge
It's a little,
that.
4 of them.
Technically, wouldn't the worst one be Goldberg, considering the fact that he would have squash matches for title defenses?
Against one person.
Against one person. So
I was going to say, he only defended it one time, right?
So it probably would only be Goldberg who would fall
Won
into
it
that
once
category.
and defended it once.
Because you can't put Balor in that. Yeah, he was only champ for one day, but still, I mean, compare.
Yeah.
and since Goldberg only defended it once, it didn't give him the opportunity to, disappear for 6 months like a certain Brock Lesnar does as well.
He's so good, though. He's so good.
When he's here, yes, absolutely.
Greg Wirtz says, hey, guys, miss Emma. He misses Emma. He loves Emma. He would tweet me, or he would like private message me shit about Emma. Is Emma coming back? When's this Emelina thing happening? He's obsessed with her.
They'll bring Emma back.
And Greg
she'll be
Milakovic also
popping
says,
the bubbles
Emma.
again.
Yeah. I hope they bring her back. I love her.
I don't
think
understand
she's
why
awesome.
they.
She seems like she's pretty happy with Ring of Honor and Women of Honor and all the different independents that she's working, though.
That's because they don't freak out over the tiniest little thing, because it's just like, oh, okay, so you posted something that was stupid on Twitter. It's like, okay, it's your business, not ours. We're just booking you.
Yeah, but rounding it back, I think it's fair enough to say that the way they're handling Ronda, especially coming off of that hot debut at WrestleMania, has been absolutely, I think, perfect. I expect Ronda to be there at when the time is right, much more than Brock. I think she's going to be a regular. It's just getting her to that point. They can't overexpose her yet. And I think that's going to be an issue.
No, I agree with that. And I think the one thing that everyone has to keep in mind is the comparison to Brock isn't truly apples to apples. Brock was a wrestler first who went to MMA and then came back. Ronda's like just a legit badass from day one who's now in the ring. So if they want to play up the she's a legit badass angle, you don't have anyone who's going to go and say, well, okay, sure, but 7 years ago, she was jobbing out to A, B, and C. Because you don't have that history. So she does have the legit badass aspect to her, and there's nobody that can take that away.
Yeah, it's actually, and another thing that wouldn't be apple to apples with Brock Lesnar is that the rivalry she could have with Charlotte would be Charlotte comes from the wrestling lineage. You know, she's from the Flair family and everything like that. She took on to the business even though she didn't want to be in it, and she took to it like water. Ronda came in, and she had to learn pretty much baptism under fire. It's not the same as with like Lesnar and Angle, because both of them were amateur athletes. Angle went to the Olympics. Lesnar won an NCAA title, so they had their history in wrestling already.
Matty, you're spot on, because it's the natural versus the badass.
Yeah.
Can we say, too, let's not forget, for the people who are critical of Ronda and her promo and mic skills, do we not forget when Charlotte first came up, how people absolutely destroyed her for her work on the mic? When she hit the main roster,
It was pretty much every woman who came up except for Sasha Banks.
Yeah, I mean, for all intents and purposes, Charlotte was not great on the mic when she first came up.
No.
You know, and it took having a veteran, it happened to be her father, but it took having a person there to kind of guide her through that first year and get her ready. And then when she found herself on the mic as a character, shit just took off, and she's never turned back.
And also that heel turn did her so many benefits, too, because she was able to just be that snobby, I'm the best in the world kind of human being that just pissed off everybody in the locker room.
She was a great heel.
See, what kills me, though, is she is a great heel to the point where I don't like when they book her as a babyface.
It doesn't bother me.
It's kind of the same thing.
I like her as a heel more, but it doesn't bother me. Oh, geez, I'm a rookie here.
Yeah.
Amateur hour.
That was my Ronda moment on the mic.
Well, you know what the funny part of it is?
Wait for your cue. Wait for your cue. Wait for your cue.
It's kind of funny because it's like the same thing with her dad.
Me!
I challenge you.
Go ahead, Matty.
Yo.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's kind of like the same thing with her dad. You know, her dad was a natural heel. Like, he was, he's wearing all those tuxedos, coming out in the expensive robes. He was the nature boy Ric Flair, always winning the championship through the most crooked means possible, had the horseman,
Lived his gimmick.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the same effect that Charlotte goes through. Charlotte's such a good heel. You can't really see her as anything else but that heel that she was. And they did book Flair as a babyface at times in WCW. It kind of worked. It worked because he was Ric Flair. But honestly, they could have just booked him as a heel, and it really wouldn't have changed anything. Might have actually helped their draw back then.
I don't mind her being booked as a face. What I would do, similar to what they did with her father, in all intents and purposes, when Hogan was a face, is do dirty tactics, though. Like, that's your lineage. You're the dirtiest player in the game, the dirtiest woman in the game. Every now and then, rake an eye.
Yeah.
You can't give someone a crotch shot, but twist a tit or something.
Well, I mean,
do something.
Pop an implant. Oh, wait.
we can't.
Sorry about that.
We can't.
Sorry,
all be,
ladies.
We
for
can't
the,
be
for
all
the, for the,
Shinsuke
rap- the T
Nakamura.
word.
We can't all.
Yeah,
do
but
the
like
nut shot as our signature move.
Rake an eye. Do something. Something behind the ref's back. Pull hair when they're doing the break like this. And they're backing up, do something, pull hair, and yank them down when the ref's trying to make it get a clean break.
So let me ask you guys a question. Now that we've kind of thrown this whole theory out there, it's more or less become public knowledge that she is working with an injury that I just kind of alluded to a little
Who's
bit.
that, Charlotte?
Yeah. That she does have the ruptured implant that they have said
I've heard that they're getting her implants
they're
fixed,
going
yeah.
to – well, and you know what that means because it's Vince. She will come back bigger than she is now. I mean, it's.
But will she be iconic?
I don't know that anyone can be iconic.
No.
Which, by the way, quick drop in, Greg Milakovic does say he'll go to Australia, grab Emma, and bring her back to join Iconic. Which
All right.
would not be a damn bad idea.
Well, then you'd have 3 Aussies, and I'd be all about it. There'd be one for Ryan.
Iconic.
Iconic. He's taking us iconic.
But so understanding that there is going to be a procedure, supposedly doesn't have a real long recovery time, but understanding that there is going to be a procedure at some point down the road, how much do we think that affects their booking plans?
I mean, it could affect Money in the Bank. Everything that we think could happen may not happen at all. I mean, she could win it, be out for a little bit. They could play the
win
whole.
win it, and just take the briefcase and disappear for a while.
She could win it, and then they could say Charlotte got hurt during the Money in the Bank match, and she's out for a little bit. And when she comes back, that's the moment she cashes in.
Well, how
the
Totally
cash
unexpected.
in becomes as a
No
complete
idea, and the
surprise.
cash in is the return. That would be amazing.
I'd love
by
that.
the way.
It could be that, or do you think that they might do this route where they have her win the championship? Because how long does it take for you to, obviously the procedure and then the recovery
I
process?
think the recovery is like 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay,
The
so
procedure's like an hour. The recovery is like
Yeah.
6 to 8
I
weeks.
mean,
okay, so I mean,
that's
like
probably
when
enough to keep her out for a little bit.
yeah,
And,
so
and not be champion though.
I would say though, but if she did have the belt, she could sneak away with it under cover of darkness, if you would, and not have to defend the belt until the next pay-per-view.
Well, but here's the other thing too. And I know Ryan, you got something. She can appear on TV.
That is true.
She just can't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
So is it a situation where maybe she does win and like you said that they play up a bit of an injury angle even with the win and she just comes out and she talks shit every week and lets everyone fight amongst themselves to see who the challenger is going to be?
I mean, it could be.
I love your idea though that the injury she wins but she's injured and the cash in is the return.
I think that would be the most effective way to utilize the Money in the Bank and utilize her situation. And I would be interested. The
I
first
honestly-
appearance back with them fresh.
I'll tell you a workaround that they could figure out in the match, in the Money in the Bank match, and it's the beautiful thing. They do it a lot, not when it comes to injuries, but they could freaking put her through a table, the announce table or something to where there's a big spot. She's out for 75% of the match. She's at the very beginning, and out of nowhere, she comes up, robs it, and it's out of nowhere.
Well, that's what happens when most people who win, that's what
yeah,
they do.
exactly.
So.
So that's the perfect type of match to where, hey, she could be on the floor for 75%
She goes.
of it.
She goes for her big moonsault off the top
Yeah.
rope, misses, crashes through the table.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope she doesn't pop the other one, though, hitting on the table.
Well, she's already going in.
Yeah,
so.
that's
so I
true.
mean, what's the difference? You're getting 2 instead of 1.
Maybe she'll do like an elbow drop or
Well,
something. We'll just change it.
Maddie, you have to get 2 regardless, buddy.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, I don't know. I'm not an expert in this field.
That's a problem.
well,
Chrome.
I'm not a woman. I don't need them.
Take
The
care
more
of-
you know.
Take care of your
Ba-na-na-na.
take care of your kid over here.
It's all right, buddy. We got you, pal. I got you. So she's getting 2. If anybody
yes.
doesn't know, she's getting 2.
One is broke, but you have to get 2.
Yeah.
They come in pairs. Imagine that.
David Roscoe says Lesnar doesn't defend the Universal Championship. Kristen Gideon asks, yeah, when is Brock going to lose the title? Let's have a champion that's there all the time. I don't mind Brock as champion.
We had this debate last week,
Not
didn't we?
happening
Graham?
anytime soon.
I don't
I mean,
mind Brock as champion.
He's only got to get to 435.
Yeah.
After that, they can take it off with
What's
him.
he at now? He's got to be close.
It's close.
I imagine SummerSlam, he should be at that point. I'll have to do some mathematics. We're literally just going to count the calendar.
So he beat Goldberg
Last year's WrestleMania.
So
He's held the belt for a year.
it's probably
365.
400, give or take, right around now.
SummerSlam would be a pretty good time.
Do you think there's a website that has like a tracker
I'll,
on it?
I'll just count the calendar.
Okay. I'm going to check anyway because if there's a website with a tracker, that's amazing.
I'll go exactly where 365 is, and I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
So,
6,
so
7.
we have Pillow Talk with Mike Madaraki and calendar counting with the Chrome.
Damn right.
There you go.
365
Counting 1, 2, 3.
days. 366 days.
That is spectacular. That is absolutely spectacular.
We may have to make that a segment, counting with Chrome. But no, I mean, we've talked about it. I don't mind Brock being champion. I think when the title drops, it'll drop. And I think his contract only runs through to SummerSlam. Am I correct about that? He signed a short-term contract.
I don't know how long the extension was because I know they did make a big deal out of he signed the extension basically at WrestleMania, which is why he didn't do the job.
Right.
But I have no idea how long it was.
Do you think that? Okay, well, if his contract's up at SummerSlam,
I
in
think.
theory,
I'm not 100% sure. In theory, right.
Do you think that whoever wins the Raw Money in the Bank ladder match would be cashing in at the last minute at SummerSlam to snag the belt off of him, so that way Lesnar, they could still negotiate a contract, but he doesn't have the title if he hasn't re-signed with them, if his contract's out by that time? If he wants to continue.
I think they have 2 Money in the Banks now again.
Yeah.
So they can utilize it for more of the year. I felt like when Sheamus won, I believe he cashed it in pretty early in the year. What was it? It was Survivor Series, am I correct? I believe he won in July or in June, cashed it in November, and you had that whole year without that build.
Right.
And it seems like now they're kind of getting away from that because of you have the anticipation that it could happen throughout the year. So to me, if say Charlotte or any of them, if any of them win, if who else is in? If Ember Moon wins and she cashes in the first couple months, I expect the men's to go longer. Probably maybe around Rumble time. Survivor Series could be another time.
Do you see someone cashing in at a Mania?
I mean, it's been a couple years now since then. It wouldn't shock me. I don't know.
I don't know if because when Seth did that the first time, I mean that was crazy.
Pretty
I don't
epic.
know if they would do it again. I know it's been 3-4 years.
It'll be 4 years by next Mania.
I feel like that's something they would try and do every 10, unless there was an emergency scenario where they needed to make a huge moment like last second. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't hot shot the cash in at WrestleMania too often, or else it loses its luster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By the way, the Brock Lesnar deal, the extension ends right before SummerSlam.
Okay. So it is possible that we
Right
could see something
before
like
or
that.
right after?
It says, according to the Observer, it says that it's not listed as a one-match deal because there were speculations initially that it was just for one. That's why people thought, he's going to be gone for a while. It says, but it does end before SummerSlam in August.
So I would imagine that he'll probably hold them hostage for a huge payday to drop the belt at SummerSlam.
Because it also allows him to negotiate a one fight with UFC. Because I think around
that
that
was-
time
I
he's
remember that
eligible
was the
because of
key.
USADA.
And then maybe that's why.
Well, when is his suspension up in UFC?
It's tricky because he technically retired at some point, so his USADA clock stopped. Because that clock only happens when you're an active competitor. So when he stopped, he had 6 more months on the clock. So whenever he enters the pool again, which none of us know until they announce it,
Right.
we don't know.
He's got to be in the pool for what, 6 months or
yes,
a year?
6. Well, here's the thing, and I was listening to an interview the other day about this. If you go and retire, because this happened to one of the Diaz brothers, if you go into retirement then come back, there might be a penalty time limit of like, okay, you went into retirement, you're back, so you have a 3-month add-on to it.
Okay.
So all of that, it's up for debate. But I feel that if he's trying to get into a fight, which is obviously included in this deal as far as an open door for it, he has to be back in the pool. If not, I mean, he's not going to be able to fight for another, almost a long time.
Can he go back into the pool without it being announced?
I don't know. Sometimes it's depending on if USADA announces that type of stuff. I'm not sure.
You want to let the audience in on who USADA is?
Basically, they are, for non-UFC fans, they have this thing called USADA testing where they're making sure that the competitors are clean. They're not on any PEDs or any drugs. That's obviously, if you're a John Jones fan, you know that he has a very extensive relationship with USADA. So basically, it's the corporation that keeps all of the competitors clean.
Right.
Speaking of Brock, actually, because Todd actually chimed back in here on the YouTube, he said, can you guys seeing Brock versus Seth at SummerSlam? And if so, who should he drop the IC title to?
I got an answer on that one.
I mean, the IC belt, wouldn't we think, has to go to Balor at some point?
I would love for it to somehow find its way back to the Miz, and have Miz and Daniel Bryan fight over that thing for a year. Even if they hot potato it for a few months, I think that feud's got money when they finally get to it.
Yeah, I think that's going to end up getting. I don't know, because I feel like Miz is now past the Intercontinental title for the time being. I feel like the move is to transition him to the main event. So, I don't know. I'm a little befuddled because I could see Nakamura winning the title now. But then I don't see Nakamura and Miz having a feud. Or I could see AJ, if he defends, I could see him dropping the title to Miz. and then having a few. I think Miz is going to win the Money in the Bank, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I think
I'm
that's safe.
98% on that boat that I think Miz is going to be the guy to win the Money in the Bank. I know people think Finn needs it, but I think Finn's going to be the guy to dethrone Seth.
Yeah, it has to
as
be.
the Intercontinental
That would
title.
make sense because, again, they always built up that rivalry between the two of them. It would make sense for Finn to get the IC title, and, eventually you could put
And now Seth, I think, then moves into the main event picture where you could have him against a Brock Lesnar or whoever does dethrone Brock Lesnar.
All great points, but let's go back to the piece that we talked about the last time I was on with you guys. Let's take Backlash out of the equation for a second and go back to the last event that was on the network. What's the last thing we saw that day? You saw Braun Strowman standing there with a trophy and a belt in his hand.
Yeah. I think
I am on the Braun train with regards to Money in the Bank.
It could be. I wonder if they're going to have that reinforced monster ladder that they had for Big Show the one year.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Oh, God.
I don't know. I don't
man.
know if they're. See, I think that they're going to hold Braun off until WrestleMania.
Wait a minute. Was that the same year, too, where they
I
had
think Braun's going to win the Rumble again this year.
Oh, man, that'd be crazy. That'd be actually kind of cool.
I
to
think
see that
I think
happen.
that he's going to win. He's going to be the first guy to win 2 Royal Rumbles in 1 year.
No, wait a minute. What if
In the span of a year, yeah.
Well, what if Miz was champion and he had the WWE title and say somehow, some way Braun just winds up challenging him for that belt? I mean, they have history together, and Miz just scurries around, tries to get the hell away from it as quick as possible.
I mean, they
Just
still
to
have
build up
unfinished
some-
business, so I
yeah,
could see it.
that would be a lot of fun to see, just to see Miz desperately try to stay as far away from Braun Strowman as humanly possible. And every week, Braun finds a way to get to him at some way, somehow.
I mean, it's not out of the question. I could see that.
So, question for you guys. So, I was looking at this graphic. So, there is still one remaining spot in the men's Money in the Bank match.
For Raw or SmackDown.
Whoa, it's
I mean, duh. It
Doesn't matter.
My bad. Yeah.
who do you guys believe it will be?
Well, what the graphic is, give us the rundown so far.
Kevin Owens,
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Roode, Braun Strowman, Miz, Rusev Day, Finn Balor, and the members of the New Day.
One of the members of the New Day, so that would be SmackDown. So it has to be a member of Raw because it's 4-4. Has to be a member of Raw who's going to get in that spot. I'm trying to think of
Wait.
who hasn't been.
So it's already 4-4?
So they said that it's going to be 4 members of SmackDown and 4 members of Raw. We already have 4 members of SmackDown.
4 members of SmackDown. We're missing the one
So we're
from Raw.
missing Raw. There's got to be one more qualifying
Oh,
match,
no.
which I'm assuming is probably going to end up being
Roman Reigns.
Roman.
Roman versus Jinder in another qualifying match. Because if you didn't see Raw, I mean, this kind of segues us into Raw and SmackDown. Obviously, the European tour, so live, well, not live, taped from Europe.
Live to tape.
Yes, live to tape. Obviously, Jinder Mahal was supposed to be in a qualifying match, was taken out by Roman early. I did like the way they did it, though. How, all right, so now he's back in the locker room while he's taped up. He's, all right, and then he come back later in the show, and it's, all right, I'm going to get out here, and I gotta show them why I deserve to be. And then I did not see it that quick hitting him, though. I felt like Roman was going to get him, but, man, he speared the shit out of him through that plaster wall, whatever they had.
I'll see. I don't disagree with you at all that it's going to be a qualifying match between Roman and Jinder, but I think Sunil Singh winds up getting involved and Roman gets screwed and Jinder goes into the match.
I agree.
And they keep continuing with this
Roman's got to
Roman gets screwed angle.
Yep.
To the point where I think they should just stop booking him as a babyface or a heel and just book him as the guy who's pissed off at the world because he keeps getting screwed. Mm-hmm. And anybody who gets in his way, just mow him down.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if it's Finn Balor or Elias or anyone in between. If you're a babyface, if you're a heel, if you're big, if you're small, it doesn't matter. Roman's going through you.
Well, I mean, the last time they did something like that, it wound up being Stone Cold Steve Austin. So who knows what could happen?
I'll also say, and they're not similar by any means, but look on how they booked Braun Strowman for a year. Now, obviously, they're not the same characters. I'm not saying book Roman as this huge monster that's going to flip trailers over, but Braun Strowman was that guy to where if someone got in his way or someone pissed him off, he's not going to have it. And that's it. That was literally his character. It wasn't, oh, my God, he's sympathetic, or, oh, my God, he needs to, make threats to the audience. It's just basically he wants one thing, and that's to, either get guys out of the way or go for a title. That should literally just be Roman.
And if you don't like it,
get these hands.
And I have to say, so Seth is my guy. I love Seth. He's probably my favorite superstar in WWE.
Really?
And I love AJ as well. But my favorite guy right now is Braun Strowman. I could watch the shittiest episode of Raw, which we've had some real bad ones lately. Nothing gets me more excited than when he goes outside the ring and just trucks through guys. Because it's so, it's legit. It's believable. A man running through you like that. It gets me fucking hyped. And I love how you have, I love Sami Zayn when he's talking about, Bobby Lashley with the vertigo stuff.
Right.
Sami
God, that
Zayn,
was
by the way,
great,
is on
yes.
absolute fire right
Yes,
now.
he is.
Absolute fire.
I have to say, though, as someone who has dealt with vertigo, when he said that he, quote unquote, contracted vertigo, I started laughing my ass off because I'm like, you don't contract vertigo.
Oh, it's
It's
so
not
good.
a sexually transmitted disease. But when he said that, I was in tears. I was laughing so hard. It's amazing. It's amazing.
And it's so crazy, and we talk about this all the time. This is where that heel and face stuff, how a guy who was floundering for so long with so much talent, you just give him that change, that about face. But the best part was all the shit he did, like the skipping and stuff that was kind of corny and shit before, is so good now.
Yeah.
When he's just being a dick about it. And he even talks about, I think it was, it might have been the Edge and Christian podcast, and he talked about the heel turn. Mm-hmm. And he said when he talked to Vince, it was all about
Just do what you do,
well, he
but
said,
be more annoying.
Well, he said when he was a face, that Vince found that shit really annoying, and he realized in a conversation with Vince, he's I think he said to Vince, what do I need to do? What am I not doing right? And that kind of came up subtly, and then he realized when he was a heel, he's I need to continue to do what's pissing people off, apparently, and it's just taking off. Oh, he's so good.
I love what he says about Bobby Lashley. He goes, he even stole my hat.
Yeah, everybody knows it's
So
my
good.
hat. I love that. That was
Everybody
great.
knows it's my hat.
But let's go back to your point on
But-
not Lashley, on Braun for a second.
But with them, where he's talking about it, and he's talking about how these guys are just destroying him, and that contributed to his vertigo.
But
and it's so funny. I love it.
the Braun and Drew McIntyre bump, where Braun just destroys him and McIntyre rolls over and takes
Digs
out the
up the-
trophy.
yeah.
I'm betting it was unplanned, but it was awesome.
It was so good.
The trophy just falls apart. Their timekeeper's trying to catch the top part of it. Completely quick cutaway.
Oh, God, it was so good.
I love the way they actually booked that match at the beginning when they tag in Drew and Braun comes in, and Drew looks like he's about to fight off with him, and he just sticks his hand out.
And he
to
says,
tag in Ziggler.
"You want this? You ready for this?"
Yeah. And he just puts his hand out
Yep.
to get tagged by Ziggler. That was great. Him
and Ziggler are great
They,
together.
they
right?
are. They're
so
fantastic.
There's a lot of stuff that's been really good. And you know what's great? Those European. I don't read the spoilers. People leak
I don't
the spoilers
either.
every day.
No.
Those European shows are usually really bad. Real talk, they do the corny sets with it and all. This was a real episode of Raw, and it was good. All intents and purposes. Not every segment was great, but
Yeah, I mean,
a lot to take from it.
Well, and I'll say this.
I can't wait to see Sami Zayn deliver Bobby Lashley's sisters.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah.
God, that's going to be great.
I was going to say, though, the one thing you can count on with the European audience, though, is Bailey is going to be way more over on a Monday night than she's been in
Fandango.
months.
They
Yeah.
were still Fandangoing.
Oh, my God, that was great.
Never let it be said that they're not keeping up with the times.
Yeah, no, for real.
Knee slap.
Oh, God, yeah.
Could you imagine if they had a could you imagine if it was
Dropping the Four Horsemen sign on us?
That's it. He holds up 4 minutes, and I give him the horseman sign back. I'm like, all right.
Should I do the fortune sign, whatever the hell they did in TNA, like this
It
or
was
whatever,
this.
the Spider-Man? What
it was literally like this. It was the weirdest
This?
thing.
No,
This?
I like the horseman sign better.
Oh, so do I. It
Diamond-
wasn't a crappy ripoff from TNA.
Diamonds are forever.
God, that's
And
storyline.
so are the
Horse.
four horsemen.
You talk about a storyline that could have gone somewhere but didn't in TNA. Oh, story of their life.
Kristen,
Anyway,
Kristen Gideon says, I'm loving Braun Strowman right now, too. I thought it was funny when Kevin Owens was calling him a bad monster.
yeah.
Another guy on
That
fire
was-
right
oh
now,
my
Kevin
Oh
Owens.
yeah.
Oh, okay, who do you think is actually doing better on the mic right now? Owens or Zayn?
Sami Zayn.
Sammy.
Yeah, okay.
It's, to me, Owens, by no means is it a knock on Owens. He's been doing it for a long time, but Sammy's on another level right now, and it's because we've never seen it from him. So to me, it's a little more riveting. But there's never anything that Kevin Owens does that I don't enjoy.
I'm on the same level with you, and I understand that he just signed a nice big fat contract extension. Too.
Did he?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Oh,
Tom also says, poll question, sure, LOL.
I'll ask you guys this before we go to break. So, among the listed men, Money in the Bank participants in the men's, ranked for me, least likely to most likely to win it. Is that a tease for another on the
Let's
other side?
do the other side
Yeah.
because we want to go through the women too.
True.
Say,
Okay.
I don't know if I can do that without knowing who the last guy is, though.
Well, here, I'll
Do you want to
pull-
just assume it's
Here.
Roman?
I'm going to assume it's going to be Roman or Jinder. We can
Well,
throw that in there.
I was going to say, Mike,
there's no way it's
in
not
the
gonna be
break,
one of
think
them.
of
Okay.
another guy that you think it could be.
No,
You
I
know
mean
what
we could do it assuming it's Roman. I'm just.
Yeah.
I feel like if that last guy is Roman, then there's a whole different dynamic to it. And if it's Jinder or someone else, do you get guys kind of squaring off within the match? You know what I mean?
I think even if it's Jinder, Roman's going to find his way in there to screw Jinder over.
Yeah, I can see that.
I could see Jinder climbing the ladder and Roman coming in and dumping him off the top of the ladder. Or if there's two ladders set up, Roman climbing up one and spearing him off of
Spearing
the
him off
ladder.
Oh, if he jacks.
That would be a great sign. That would be a great spot. And
Yeah,
that would
but
be a
here's the
way to
thing.
get Roman over, by the way.
See,
big
I
time.
disagree. I think if
Oh.
he goes up a ladder and he jacks edges off the ladder spear, people will boo the shit out of
See-
him for stealing the move.
See, I don't think so because people hate Jinder so much that other than England, I think that is the one feud they'll probably get more people to cheer than boo Roman Reigns.
You don't like the
I don't mind
I
him.
mean, honestly, I don't know. I think that'd probably be the moment most people go to take a piss. I mean, honestly.
Could this Roman Reigns Jinder Mahal like mini feud could I say that must be one of the most hated feuds on both sides I've ever seen because people hate Jinder
tough.
and they hate Roman.
It's like booking
tough.
heel versus heel,
It is.
which you're not supposed
And
to
the
do.
sad thing is I feel like they're doing
is.
this so people can cheer Roman.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think, spoiler alert, not going to work. Sadly, not going to work.
Well, it's interesting because I heard an interview yesterday, and I'm not going to say with who, but the subject of the interview said that if he was doing the booking, at this point, he thinks there's literally only one person that could get Roman over as a babyface right now in the present, and it's Triple H.
Oh, well, it didn't work for WrestleMania 32.
No, but
Maybe.
who knows?
So we're going to be jumping off the Facebook right now. We're going to take a quick few minutes break. Thank you if you join us on Facebook, and if you join us on Periscope, hop over to YouTube. The link is in the captions above this video. Little Bad News Bears action, loving it. On the other side, we'll continue to talk Raw and SmackDown, Money in the Bank. We're going to talk a couple of interesting news events that happened this week. And this week in wrestling history is delightful.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Which, by the way, their spot. His athleticism.
Delete.
Delete. So thanks again, guys. Make the jump over. Maddie's going to give us a read.
All right, then. Well, all this was brought to you by Scanzano Sports Center, located at 5 Carnegie Plaza in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can give them a call at 856-889-3434 or visit them on the web at www.scanzanosports.com.
All right, guys. We'll see you over on YouTube. Thank you, Facebook and Periscope. You guys rock.
Tom and Mike, AM in the PM, is brought to you by Gibson Mayer, LLC, Certified Public Accountants. Gibson Mayer, located in Yardley, PA, is a leading accounting and business consulting firm with a proven track record of handling critical issues with expertise across many different industries, including construction, distribution, hospitality, manufacturing, real estate, service trades, merchandising, professional services, and professional athletes. Give them a call at 215-369-3300. That's 215-369-3300. Your initial consultation is always free, and if you tell them that Mike from Tom and Mike AM in the PM sent you, you'll receive 15% off all income tax services completed by February 15th. That's Gibson Mayer, LLC, Certified Public Accountants, 215-369-3300, or visit them on the web at www.gibsonmayer.com. That's www.gibsonmayer.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Lazy
Did you stop at Royal Farms before the show?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Did you get a spicy chicken sandwich? Yes. And we're off the rails.
That was a free plug for
Wait a
Royal
minute, we were
Farms.
on the rails at some point?
We're
Maybe
never on
not.
the rails.
Yeah. All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Lazy Booking right here on A2Tradio.com. And we are brought to you by Sports Outlet for all your sporting needs. They're located at 703 Black Horse Pike, England, or New Jersey. Give them a call at 856-939-2030. Email them at sportsoutletnj@comcast.net. Or visit them on the web at www.sportsoutletinc.com.
Another good job, Matty. Nice job. Pillow Talk with Mike Mataraki.
A step away from the reeds.
Step away from the reeds.
Hey, girl.
Welcome back, folks, to Lazy Booking on A2DRadio.com. I had to think what show we were talking about.
Would you like
I
to
almost said welcome back to Pillow Talk with Mike Mataraki. I almost said it.
Would you like to see my
Well done.
I can't even get it out. Would you like to see my full Nelson?
You know, the big Mike Boski. Hello, ladies. Ladies. We're back, guys, in case you couldn't tell.
Are we?
Kind of
Okay.
back. Before we went to break, we talked some Raw and SmackDown events. We talked some Money in the Bank stuff, and Ryan brought up the question of who do we believe is going to win? Is that what you had? Or we were going to rank the chances of winning.
Basically, least likely to most likely. So
what we'll do with that last spot is, if that's the case of Roman versus Jinder, you'll pick who you think is going to win and then rank it that way.
Okay.
So
Money in the Bank. Twitter got rid of my list.
How polite.
thanks, Twitter
Bank.
jerks.
So we know that so far we have one open spot still remaining in my team.
Hey, it's allergy season. Come on now.
He's on tight.
I don't know if it's a spicy chicken or the big gumbo.
So
Mike Boski.
there's one open spot in the men's Money in the Bank match.
Okay.
So we will assume that it is Roman Reigns that will get that spot, correct?
Or Jinder.
Jinder. Roman or
So
Jinder.
we're going to go who, out of those two, we'll book it as who we think would win that match and then go from there.
Okay.
Because I think it's going to be Jinder.
So do I.
So I'm not even going to throw in Roman because I don't
Maddie,
think Roman's
who do you
gonna
think it would be?
For the men's?
Well, no. Who would win between Roman and Jinder?
I'm going to say,
Not who you want. Who do you think will win?
you know,
Because I think you were already leaning towards Roman.
I was leaning towards
Don't
Roman.
cheat.
I was leaning to but after hearing what you said, it makes sense to try and go that angle. But I will do it for saving face reasons. We will go Roman Reigns for saving face reasons.
Good man.
If you say the sky is purple, it's fucking purple.
Good man.
So other than that, we have Kevin Owens, Bobby Roode, Braun Strowman, The Miz, Rusev, Finn Balor, and one of the members of the New Day involved. That's confirmed. So among those competitors, rank them amongst least likely to most likely to win the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Least likely to most likely.
Can we just do our least likely and most likely?
Sure.
I can't.
Yeah, I think that's easier, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do all 8 of them.
I could rank them all 8, but go ahead.
ahead.
Do what you want.
No, go ahead. You do your 8.
Well, I'm pulling up the list first because I have a short-term memory. I can't even
Okay.
remember what Ryan said already.
For me, the most likely will be Braun Strowman. The least likely will be whatever member of the New Day represents, unless it's Big E. If it's Big E, I think your final scene or your final showdown on the ladder is Big E and Braun. Because I think that will begin the Big E singles push. If it's Kofi or Xavier Woods, I think there's no possible way. They become my last man. If it's not Big E, probably Bobby Roode would be my least likely.
Maddie?
Most likely, I'm going to say Miz. Least likely, definitely member of the New Day. I just don't. I don't see them doing that. I think they're just going to do the breakup of the New Day at some point before they push one of them for a title. Everybody else kind of just falls in the middle somewhere.
Interesting that I don't know if it's a teaser or not, if I should read it.
Go ahead.
Well, on
Are you rocking a wiki?
Wikipedia,
It's rocking a wiki.
it has either Big Cass or Samoa Joe as the last spot, which would change a lot then.
Well, it's interesting because the site that I pulled up to see the matchup says the same thing. It's kind of interesting.
So I'm
But I don't know
wondering-
if it could be Joe, though, because there's already 4 from SmackDown.
Well, what would Joe be doing?
It's true.
Does
No.
Joe have anything planned at the moment?
No, because his rivalry with Reigns ended at Backlash.
And Big Cass is doing the thing with Daniel
Yeah,
Bryan.
that's true. I'm going to stick with what we were doing because that would make 5 for SmackDown. It makes no sense. So I'm gonna. Wikipedia's not always right.
Ooh. Thought of something, okay? On the storyline of Roman always gets screwed, Roman wins against Jinder. He's supposed to be in the match, but gets attacked and replaced by Samoa Joe.
Wouldn't hate it. Wouldn't
it
hate it
either.
at all.
Yeah, I
It would
hate
make
that.
sense. It would make sense because they just faced off at Backlash.
And real quick, how money was the promo that Joe cut on Cass?
Ooh. Yeah.
Like Maddie, you were saying earlier, like you're really not supposed to go heel versus heel. But I think Joe cut the most effective heel-on-heel promo I've seen in a long time.
It's because Joe's a friggin'
He
professional.
Yeah.
roasts everybody. It's
Yeah.
perfect.
It's amazing. I'm going to rank them all. I think of the New Day, I don't think it's going to be Big E because there's already enough of the – I think that if you're going Big E and you're looking for the big brooding guys, you already have Braun Strowman and Rusev.
Okay.
They
I'm fine
tend to
with
only
that.
have like 1 or 2. I think they're going to continue to have the high spot guys, which I think it would be Kofi or Xavier Woods. Ideally, because Xavier got the pin, you would think it would be Xavier, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was Kofi Kingston because we know that he's a highlight reel in these kinds of matches.
Right.
I'm going to say it doesn't matter which one. I'm going to say it's going to be Xavier, but they're going to be my least likely. Absolutely my least likely. Then I'm with you. I think Bobby Roode comes in next. Then I say Kevin Owens. Then Rusev. Then Finn. Did I say Bobby Roode? I did, right?
Yeah, you had Bobby Roode
Yeah.
down
Then
the bottom.
Finn. Then Jinder. then Braun, then Miz. I think Miz is the favorite to win, and Braun is the second. But I feel really confident, for me, just a gut feeling that they're going to hold Braun's push until after Royal. I think he's going to win the Rumble.
I'm going to let Ryan go, but I want to come back to this because you said something that triggered a whole other thought process in me.
So I'll actually rank them all as well. I'll go least likely Kofi Kingston. I think he's going to be in the match. Then I go Rusev because I feel that him getting the pin over Bryan, him actually being in the match, is kind of WWE's way of saying, here you go. I don't think they see him in that light, unfortunately, in that big moment. So if they put if he wins, I would automatically say he's not going to win the title. He's going to cash in unsuccessfully.
You think?
I believe so.
think he
I don't
would
want
win
it to happen, but I just can't buy him being a main event title
I
holder.
can't see 2 years in a row, though, the winner not cashing in and winning.
That's why I think he's the second
I hear
to
what you're
least
saying.
likely.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. I think if he wins, he'll win the match or he'll win the title, but I don't think he's likely to win. So I'm with you on that.
Then I have Bobby Roode, Braun Strowman, Kevin Owens, Miz, and my most likely is Finn.
Okay, now you're leading right back to where I wanted to go, because what I was going to say is even though I personally don't have him at the top, we talked about Greatest Royal Rumble, and we talked about that iconic moment at the end with Braun standing there with the trophy and the belt in his hand. But what's the second most iconic shot from that entire special? Finn on top of the ladder with his eye bleeding, absolutely flabbergasted that he somehow lost the ladder match to Seth Rollins. The way that he comes back from that is for them to, the story is he finally won his ladder match.
See, I could see them going the other way, and then
Continuing
full
to,
circle, Miz is the one now who steals it from him.
And I would have a problem with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes the way that you were saying. I just think they're going to continue. He's going to be the next Intercontinental Champion. So I'm kind of sticking with that. I think his time's going to come, but I think right now there's so many guys now that are starting to get into that main event. And Seth, to me, at this point, is at that point where he's doing so much with that Intercontinental title right now. It's refreshing because every time Miz wins it and he builds it up, whenever it's dropped to somebody, it seems like the status starts to kind of deteriorate again.
But with Seth, it hasn't.
And that's why they end up going back to Miz because he makes it seem like the most important title. He really does. Yeah. And Seth has finally been the guy to pick up the ball and run with it and keep it going. And they talked about it, and all the work he's doing over in the European tour. I just think it's going to end up being – you want to have another worker who's going to be the next guy. And what happens? When guys are ready to go to the next step, it's kind of like when you're not retiring necessarily, but they always say you go out on your back. You got to drop the title to get to that next level at some point. So unless you're the Ultimate Warrior WrestleMania 6. So
no, I agree with that. And to me, what's amazing though is as we sit here and talk about it, like, right off the top of your head, who's the Intercontinental Champion? Seth Rollins. Who's the U.S. Champion? Wait a minute. Is it Rude? Is it Orton? Is it Hardy? Like, you really have to think for a second.
I legit had to think for a second.
That's what I mean.
It was.
Like, you legitimately have to think for a second, like, who's got that belt right now? Because they're not doing nearly with the U.S. belt what Seth Rollins is doing with the Intercontinental title.
Todd asks us, do we see the New Day breaking up very soon? I think the time is running out on that. We talked a little bit about it last week. I'm over the pancakes. I love the New Day. I always have. I think that their gimmick was awesome. But when you're fucking trotting pancakes out every week out there and you're freaking out because a pancake touches the ground, I think you're starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel of that gimmick.
Now, see,
and I think that Big E's ready for that push.
And I agree with the whole pancake thing, jumping the shark. But I think I think they find a way to keep them together.
I would be fine with that.
Because of the chemistry that they have when they're on the microphone and stuff like that.
And they are a merch goldmine.
Right. But what I could see is Big E coming out and saying, look, guys, here's the deal. When we have these tag matches, I'm going to be out there to support you, but these tag matches are your deal because I'm looking for bigger and better things right now.
Yeah, and I mean, me and Maddie talked about it last week. I mean, when you see Big E, and yeah, he's funny and he's goofy when he wants to cut a serious promo, he does. The promo with
and
the
the
Usos,
5 counts in NXT were amazing.
3 ain't enough, man. I need 5. But when they had that exchange with the Usos in the middle of the ring at SmackDown, that was, I mean, and Big E was revved up, and I mean, that was like,
that was huge.
This dude's got something in him. He's got something. He's a special guy. I think he's ready to start kind of making that singles push again and get back to, winning singles titles. I agree with you. I think they'll figure a way to keep them together, which I'd be fine with. They don't have enough stables in wrestling, in my opinion, in WWE.
And what's interesting is, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, but there is a feud that they could go to almost right out of the chute that I think would be way better than people would give it credit for, and that would be Big E versus Big Cass.
So
you'd have the size versus the power. You have the guy who can talk versus the guy that we didn't think could talk, who now all of a sudden can talk, which leads me to believe that he spent a lot of time with a microphone in his hand while he was rehabbing his injury. Because he cuts way better promos, and I'm talking about Cass.
Yeah.
He cuts way better promos now than he did as the side piece to Enzo, if you will.
So I would agree to an extent.
And don't get me wrong.
They aren't
He's
great.
not, no, he's not,
He's a work in progress.
Right.
But he is much better.
But he's much better.
I would agree with
much
that.
better.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
I love when he says to Daniel Bryan, go take out my trash. You're like a garbage man. Go take out my trash.
What do you think, Patty?
But I like the New York educated, entitled, big, I'm better than you, and now I'm going to start to show you. Like, I love that persona. Now he just needs to keep building on it.
My thing with Cass, I think they missed an opportunity to bring him back and have him as a face. What I feel like is kind of, I'm trying to think of the right word. It just seems very, we're just going to replace little Enzo with Daniel Bryan. Like we've been there and done that. Cass is hurt, and we just come back, and Enzo's not here anymore. So we're just going to drop Daniel Bryan into that spot. I don't care for it. I think the opportunity was to. I know we all thought the Nicholas moment was fun for the moment while it happened, but in reality, long-term booking-wise, I think he would have been perfect to have Braun Strowman, and then you could turn him heel with Braun if you wanted to do that. If you really, if the end game was to turn him heel, you could have had him come back and have this like, oh, I'm grateful and yada yada yada. But then in actuality, you find out a month later he never was really that grateful. He just used Braun to get to that point, and now the nasty Cass comes out and he's bitter for being on the shelf and nobody giving a shit about him and yada yada yada. You could have twisted it away.
I was going to say, do you think that they could have spun the real life situation with Enzo into it where, he comes out and he cuts a promo and he says, everybody thought I was the bad guy, but I'm not the one who's under investigation by the police.
I was the bad guy, and now look where we're at. Something along those lines.
Yeah, because unfortunately, gone with the days where you could get away with things like that because now you're a publicly traded company.
Yeah. Let off the hook.
Give me your news ticker over here.
Is now they're saying that he never knew about the investigation, which is beyond me because
what?
I don't understand how he wouldn't know, because obviously they would have to talk to him about it. Regarding
I thought the report was that he didn't know that he was under investigation until it hit social media, and even then he had to have his attorney call the police in Phoenix and ask if there actually was an investigation going on.
Yeah, but something along those lines.
But you're right. Something's rotten in Denmark.
Yeah, something's weird about the story. But I digress. Listen, it's innocent until proven guilty. The man's innocent, apparently. There's not insufficient evidence to officially charge him of anything. And we talked about it. Obviously, the claimant had a spotty past.
Lacked credibility in the worst way.
That's real talk. There's no other way to put it. I mean,
and when I say lack, I mean there's none.
Yeah.
Zero. Less than zero.
Yeah, and I mean it's unfortunate. We're
Chance now for things to kind of, let it cool down. Let the situation. Okay, it's over. It's in the past. Now you can start building yourself back up, and then who knows? We're not saying it's going to happen in a couple of months or what have you, but maybe one day he gets a call and he says, "You know what? All right, enough time's passed. It happened. You didn't do it."
Never say never in
Never say never
WWE.
in
I don't
WWE.
see him coming back, man. I don't know.
I don't know. I
I
mean,
just don't see him coming back to wrestling at all, not just WWE.
I don't see him. Yeah, I don't see him coming back to wrestling. I mean, one thing he's done, he's marketed himself enough.
Mm-hmm.
He has enough of a cult following, so to speak, to where, and he has enough of buddies in certain places that he can go in other forms of entertainment.
Yeah.
And so the other thing is, for certain situations and certain wrestlers, I'm sure the door would be open for him to come back. But let's be honest here. He wasn't the best wrestler in the world. He wasn't a wrestler. He wasn't the best wrestler in the world. You know what I mean? He was known for his mic skills.
No, but you know what? To Chrome's point about the New Day, Enzo was a merchandise machine.
I understand that.
But that's the thing, though. With that being said, you can easily, just, like I said, let it die down. And then he comes back, and he doesn't immediately have to be, thrown or thrusted into any kind of situation. He could just show up, and be like, what just happened? We never saw it coming.
And like I said, never say never in WWE, but I tend to kind of lean towards Chrome where if I'm Vince McMahon, I got to wonder what the hell he's doing hanging out with these people in the first place.
Well, that's another thing, too.
It's a character issue, man.
Well, that's the other thing, too. If that would be something, obviously, that would be taken into account before anything. Obviously, you would say, okay, are you still doing the stupid shit that got you in trouble in the first place? Are you still hanging around with the stupid people that got you in trouble in the first place? Are you doing any of that stuff? And obviously, you give it time. You see if it's true or if it's not true, whether he says it or he is or he's not. And once it shows that, okay, he's not doing the stupid shit anymore, then you can say, all right, we'll give him another shot.
Shaved his face, by the way.
Yeah.
See that picture?
Mm-hmm.
I will say this as well.
Looks like Macaulay Culkin.
He does look like Macaulay Culkin.
He does.
It's scary.
He
It
looks
is
a
scary.
lot like Macaulay Culkin.
God, that's great. Another reason why I can't see them bringing him back, before any of this started, they were struggling to make him, to find a spot for him. You know what I mean? I feel that they had to put him on 205 Live to try and rebirth whatever brand that was.
Which he did, though. I mean, I think so, to a certain extent.
Yes, it depends on who you ask. Now, I
that's
wasn't
fair.
the biggest fan of it because
I
the
didn't like it.
cruiserweight division I don't think should have been about
It's not the
promos
Enzo
or a
show,
freaking
right.
Broadway. It should be about the wrestling.
I'm with you. Yep.
But they had, they struggled, and I feel like that's why they delayed splitting up Big Cass and Enzo because they really didn't know what they wanted to do with Enzo. It was kind of, okay, we like Big Cass. We know what we're going to do with him. What the hell are we going to do with Enzo? To where in this day and age, with all what they're trying to do with the cruiserweights, with how stacked the main roster is, the only way you could possibly bring him back is as a manager. And I don't even know if they're trying to do the whole manager thing.
I think if I'm looking at it, I just feel like, so going back to last week when we talked actually pretty extensively about cruiserweights. The cruiserweight division, to me, what made it huge, and I know you felt you were with me on this, what made it so great in WCW was you had some guys that talked, the Eddie Guerreros,
The Chris
Jerichos, guys who could cut a promo for the main event program of it, the title program of it.
Right.
But the rest of it, the work did the talking. The Juventud Guerreras, the La Parkas.
The ultimate.
Cruiserweight I've ever seen. The chairman, La Parka.
Yeah, and Psychosis. You had all these super crazy or super Colo, whatever the hell his fucking name was. You had all these guys who were Vienno 5. Remember Vienno 4 and Vienno 5?
Yes.
Oh,
But you had all these guys, but the work did it, and it was entertaining. And the guys who could talk could work with those guys. Enzo was a gimmick. It was a great talking segment, but for what the cruiserweight division is, the expectation is, it wasn't that.
No, you're right.
See, I think they tried really, really hard to do the same thing they did. They did this in WCW. Eddie Guerrero was WCW Cruiserweight Champion, and Chris Jericho was WCW Cruiserweight Champion. And Jericho burnt the entire division on one WCW pay-per-view. I think it was Slamboree. They were having a battle royal or something. Jericho did the announcing. And they're all coming down to the ring, and he just burnt every single one of them
good.
as
That's
they
what
came
Jericho
down the ring.
does.
But that's like, and then once you build it up to where, okay, now who's going to beat Jericho and shut him up finally?
But that's a great point. So people, and I enjoyed this segment where Enzo basically,
Ripped every guy.
yeah, I mean, he, for all intents and purposes, he absolutely roasted the entire division. But the original guy to do that was Chris Jericho.
Chris Jericho.
And it's just, I just don't, I didn't get it. It didn't work for me. And I look at him, and why did they put him on there? The guy had character issues. They had issues with him in the locker room on multiple occasions way before this happened. And listen, I'll never say that anyone should be wrongly accused of anything.
Right.
And if that is truly the case, I feel very sorry for the guy. As much as I'm not a fan, that's awful. That's got to be a terrible experience.
Yeah.
But that being said, and I think this is the best case scenario for all parties moving forward. He can go and do what he does best, which is be an entertainer. It doesn't have to be in WWE. He can go 100% with what he is, what he's fantastic at, and not have to worry about the other end of it. So I mean, if he's innocent, I wish the guy luck. I don't want to see him back in a ring. I'm not entertained by him, but I wish him a lot of luck.
One other possibility that may or may not could be looked at would be, remember when 205 Live started, Austin Aries was color. Do you think that they may ever explore an avenue like that with him?
No.
Just because he's only commentating, he's not actually wrestling.
No, I think it's going to be the Enzo show.
The commentary would become all about him.
You have guys like Corey Graves, and you have, like now, you had Lawler before. You had, obviously, Heenan, and guys who would do heel commentary and get their zingers in. You know, you talk about Chico Santana and the different things that they would throw in. But it wasn't necessarily, it wasn't the Bobby Heenan. Like, it was Bobby and Monsoon, but it wasn't. Like, what happened in the ring would matter. That would be a total distraction of anything happening in the ring. I have no desire to see that.
And I would agree with that.
And he is absolutely, unlike those guys who are trying to make the business better, he is 100% a guy who would go into business for himself to get himself over.
Agreed.
Kind of proved it. So, in other news, John Cena appeared on the Today Show. And actually, David Rosca, I believe, on here does say.
Yeah, he does go in to say.
He says that he believes that John Cena and Nikki Bella will be back together.
Well, it's funny that this is said because I think someone had brought up, did John and Nikki really just decide to pull an angle and use Total Bellas?
So that's what we were talking about. Is this all a work now?
And if it is, it's brilliant. I will say that.
The entire business is a work. Of course it's a work.
Yeah. We're having that romantic moment
I
right
figured
now.
it was about love, so.
Yeah.
John called and said,
John gets on and says,
Nicole, I really think we need to put this work business to bed.
listen, Kathy Lee. Listen, Hoda. I've done things wrong. I was selfish. I lived my life a certain lifestyle. And I was perfectly content with that.
But you know who I am.
I said I never wanted children. I said I'd never get married because I'd never been in love before.
Ryan?
Until I met Nikki Bella. And Nikki took my heart. It's the first time I've been in love. You guys have to understand when you've never been in love before. It does things to you. It changes you as a man. And now I want to marry her. I want to be the father of her children. She's changed me. But I want her to figure out herself, and I support her in everything that she does.
And I will support her in everything that she does. But at some point I will look her in the eye and I will say to her, "Don't you know who I am?"
I'm John Cena, baby.
Crazy.
And I'm Oh God.
That's not my fault. I'm Gene Snitsky. That's not my fault.
Where is it?
Where's what?
You cut my promo. The music's playing.
I'm John Cena.
Yes.
Is that what you're trying to get in?
I was gonna hit the. I'm John Cena, and with that.
God.
It's John Cena.
Oh, God damn it, Proto. You had
Is
a
this
one
live?
job.
I don't blame him.
Mike just missed it.
We tried to plan a bit on the fly and
All right,
Didn't
so
work.
we'll do
Didn't
this
work.
properly. God damn. iTunes.
I'm not even gonna fade that out. I'm
had
just gonna
one
stop the
job.
music.
In the meantime,
One job. He couldn't do that right.
I'm here for you, Nikki, when you come back. But in the meantime, I'm going to go bang Carmella for a while.
oh.
Whatever you hear, if you hear that I'm banging Carmella,
It's all not
don't
true.
believe it.
Well,
But I am Oda.
I told Chrome this the other day. So apparently, when they were taping SmackDown, I doubt it made the air. I'm sure they
Hold
cut
on.
that right out. Go ahead.
Oh, no.
Oh, so you thought I was gonna play that?
He thought you were going to drop like a 2-second clip of it.
Yeah, I was waiting for the it's John Cena.
He missed
Oh
it.
Ah, Jesus.
Don't get our volume
I
muted,
know.
Mike.
Like, I'm like, see, here's the problem. So you download YouTube Red so you can watch the Cobra Kai
I have
series.
it. Yeah, I have it. Yeah.
The problem with YouTube Red is the shit doesn't shut
It doesn't
off.
shut off. You have to manually go in and turn the video off.
Jesus Christ.
But listen,
It's not one thing, it's the other.
which,
obviously,
by the way, Cobra Kai series, fucking awesome.
I have every episode
all
downloaded.
all
to
10
watch.
episodes in 24
I
hours.
have every episode downloaded to watch on my phone.
Go for you. That's
well,
good work.
on my Red. But listen, Nikki was on the Today Show on Wednesday. Kind of talked a little bit about it. She's got to figure herself out.
What does she need
That's
to figure
essentially all
out?
she said.
Whether she's going with Charlotte to get the implants
Breaking-
redone or what?
Breaking news. John was the first person to text Brie Bella, "Happy Mother's Day."
Aw.
In case you guys wanted to know that after.
I'm sorry. I think this
As
is it's
the
just
Cena
such a work.
turns.
It's such
it's-
a freaking work.
It's clearly looking more and more like a work, obviously.
Do you think there's like a Randy Savage and Elizabeth reunion angle brewing down the road for these two
So at
Christ.
on
SummerSlam.
TV?
Oh, so the whole time it's Carmella is technically with John Cena. They're not actually
So
together.
Carmella slaps the shit out of Cena
Yeah.
while he's down, and then Brie comes in and pulls her by the hair and yanks her down and throws her out. She has a big flowing, glittering fucking shirt with stars on it, and then
pants
John
is
goes,
on top of it. Yeah. He just macho mans it up.
Oh yeah, brother.
Oh god.
Elizabeth,
Okay.
I love you.
More importantly though, more importantly, after they do all that, will there be a fan in the front row crying their eyes out?
Hell yeah, there will.
"Oh God," with the
It'll
big
be
hair.
it'll be a plant, but
I
fan
dig
will
it.
be there.
I'm digging it. We're booking this. I'm booking their reunion.
We probably booked this better than they will probably going
and then they'll
down
get
the
married
line.
at SummerSlam.
Oh,
And then
God.
Seth Rollins will break it up because he's the one who now wears the flame tights. The Jake Roberts flame tights.
Instead of Jake the
Or what if by that time John Cena has the belt and then whoever has the money in the bank that's what
in
they
on
cash
it.
in. They cash in at the wedding.
Oh my. Okay.
Or maybe
hold on. We gotta check
maybe
this.
instead
Hold on.
maybe instead of the actual Cobra
on.
coming out of the box, because we know how Seth is with his private life. He
Oh,
hands them
Christ.
a dick in a box, and she opens up, and it's a different snake popping through.
Go back to Justin Timberlake SNL.
You know what would be spectacular though? Think back to the Stephanie and Test wedding,
that's what
and the
God.
shot of her staring up the ramp at Triple H, going, "I hate you."
Oh God.
You got to set it up so Nikki can reenact that with somebody.
so good.
She's just looking out. I hate you.
And then you kayfabe it the full year round when he just decides to divorce her.
No.
And then you just see Nikki just yelling in the screen in the background while Cena's just doing a pose.
I was gonna book a complete.
And then Dolph Ziggler. Then
no,
Dolph
there's
faces Cena at WrestleMania, and Dolph superimposes Nikki into pictures, and then they talk about this picture that they have that they're gonna put on the big screen at Camping World Stadium for all the world to see. Nikki Bella.
There's got to be RKO's out of nowhere in there somewhere too.
I was gonna book a complete 180 to that, to where somebody cashes in the Money in the Bank on Cena, and Nikki's the one that counts 1, 2, 3, and then Nikki turns on him, kind of like Trish did at WrestleMania 04.
Can we get the Reverend Slick to do the ceremony?
Like the Teddy Long wedding, remember that? In Slick's face, just shocked.
Ziggler's gonna play the part of Mr. Perfect. She's as perfect as she's gonna get.
Well, isn't there history between Ziggler and?
Yeah,
yeah.
used to
Oh, that
date,
was a whole
brother.
storyline
That's
in
why I said Dolph
Total
Ziggler.
Divas season 2.
Yeah, but you're kind of making it out that Dolph is just sort of like he's not the main antagonist here.
No, do you not remember
No, I do.
WrestleMania 8 where they had the whole spreadsheet in WWF
do,
magazine?
yes.
And it was like, oh, these photos were caught of Elizabeth and Ric Flair, and they're eating dinner. And then, like, the next month, they show the real pictures, and it was Flair superimposed himself over Macho Man.
Oh, my God.
Ryan, you may not even been alive for that one, buddy.
I went back.
Actually,
I
I
went
That was
back.
92. You weren't alive yet, were you?
I
It was
wasn't
another
either.
4 years to go.
Oh,
Ew.
God damn.
I was 1 year to go.
Oh, my God. I remember watching
right,
and
Maddie.
reading.
Okay.
I might
It's okay.
still have the magazines at my parents' house somewhere with those in them.
I was in college.
What's a magazine
I was
again?
7.
What's a magazine again? It's something you download.
Is
for
that something on a?
Yes.
Can I get that on a tablet somewhere?
Yeah, you can.
Is that like
download
an
it on
e-book?
PDFs these days. No one actually buys them in stores. Who does that? No more.
Man.
Oh
That's
God damn!
funny.
And we just had that real moment that just happened.
That
live
took
on
a
the
turn.
Air. That happened live on the air. Oh God!
This is what ATD's like. It's like sitting at the bar with your buds, and you
That's
realize,
funny.
oh crap, life hits you.
And
WWE magazine, the biggest kayfabe mag of all time.
oh, it was great. Do you remember Scoop?
Except for the one time that they published that Randy Savage was the champion 3 months before
Yes,
he actually got
yes.
the belt.
Do you remember? Do you remember the Scoop Sullivan cartoons
Oh
in
yeah,
the back?
yeah.
I found a couple of those.
Did you really?
Online? Yeah.
That's awesome.
You have no idea what we're talking about.
I'm not even
you
going to
young
attempt
fellas.
it. I'm not even going to attempt it.
Scoop Sullivan. And remember, what was it? Bite This? Vic Venom. It was
Vic Venom, yeah.
Vince Russo.
Vince Russo, yeah.
That was supposed to be like a dirt sheet, but it was a WWA kayfabe dirt sheet.
It was it was a kayfabe
Bite
dirt
This,
sheet.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he called it Bite This. Vic Venom.
You remember the 1-900 line with Mean Gene Okerlund?
Oh,
1-900
yeah.
1-900-909-9900. Kids, get your parents' permission before calling.
What was that for WCW?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fans here at Hog Wild, and he had like the fucking. He looked like he was like in some like assless chaps biker leather
He
outfit
probably was.
while he
No,
was
you know
cutting the
what? Oh,
promo
my God, you're right.
for the 900 line.
Oh my God, that's great.
1-900-909-9900.
Hog Wild. Oh. I loved that pay-per-view for some reason, by the way. These fucking bikers revving their engines
It
and
just
shit.
seems like
Sturgis-
bikers and wrestling.
Sturgis, South Dakota.
It just seems like it made so much sense at the time.
I
Well,
love.
you know it's because Eric Bischoff had a thing for guys on bikes.
He did.
True.
He did.
But guys, breaking news. Not breaking news. In news this week. All In sells out
That's awesome.
very quickly. Great for the business.
Do you want to give the history on this to the folks that may not necessarily be aware of what we're talking about?
Well, All In is the Bullet Club, essentially the Bullet Club pay-per-view that they put together themselves. They did all the planning, all the booking, hiring the talent, and all that
so
stuff.
the genesis of it is Dave Meltzer said in the Wrestling Observer at one point that he did not believe that an independent show in the United States or any organization actually outside of WWE could draw at least 10,000 fans. And Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks, as you said, Bullet Club, basically said, we'll take that bet. The bet was for $1. But they took the bet, and they went ahead and they started putting together what they called All In. They're all in. And tickets went on sale Sunday afternoon, and
They sold out within the same day, right? How many hours?
29 minutes and 35 seconds.
Where is it being held?
The Sears
Chicago.
Center it's in suburban Chicago, which
Wasn't that used to be the Rosemont Horizon?
no,
Or
and that's
no?
what's strange because I actually looked at this the other day because I was like Sears Center. I'm like, okay, there's actually 4 major arenas in and around Chicago, which I was shocked at when I looked at it. But there's obviously the United Center. There is I believe it's Allstate Arena, which used to be the Rosemont Horizon.
Yeah.
There is another arena downtown near the convention center where the DePaul University basketball team plays, which I actually originally thought was the building that they were going to be running. And then the Sears Center is actually, it's probably about a half hour from downtown Chicago. It's out in the northwest suburbs. It's a newer building, but the capacity for wrestling, the way they have it set up, was, I think it was a tick over 10,700. And they sold it out in under a half hour.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And the quote-unquote rumor was they bought a lot of the tickets themselves and put them on StubHub to make sure that it was a sellout. But if you go on StubHub and you try to find tickets for All In, there's very few on StubHub. So to me, that says that is a legit, organic, genuine sellout.
It could be. I will say this: if that is something they were doing, though, I could see them slowly filtering tickets on as they go, so it doesn't look like there's a mass amount of tickets available at one time.
Agreed.
If they were going to go that route, that's the way they would probably do it to kind of save face. I don't know, though. I mean, it was. There was a lot of talk about it that day, and a lot of people very disappointed they did not get an opportunity to get tickets.
Well, and my understanding of it, and the thing that would tell me that it's probably organic, is the fact that there were people that were in queue to buy tickets an hour ahead of time.
Mhm.
And when their spot came up in the queue, they had tickets come up. They weren't the tickets that they wanted. They went back into queue, and then they never got another shot. So to me, that just says there were so many people in queue that it just sold out.
Yeah.
Not unlike what happened with NXT TakeOver Brooklyn last week as well. That sold out in roughly 10 minutes.
Mhm. Yeah, and I guess we didn't get tickets. I kind of
No.
wish we did, but
We'll figure that out.
yeah. But I'll be at SummerSlam. I know you'll be, right? You got your tickets
I
for
will
that
be.
already?
Yep.
Nice. Well, we're getting up against the clock, so I'm going to do this week in wrestling history. A couple pretty interesting things, a couple we ran down. So on May 17th in the history of professional wrestling,
That is
today, 55 years ago, Bruno Sammartino defeated Buddy Rogers in 55 seconds at New York, in New York City, Madison Square Garden, for the WWF Championship.
The Worldwide Wrestling Federation.
So an era was born.
Yeah.
Owned by Capital Sports and Vincent J. McMahon.
Yeah, and he held that title for the remainder of the 60s, up until he lost the title January 18th, 1971. A full 400 weeks as champion.
That's unbelievable.
Crazy.
Does he still have the longest title reign?
That was seven.
Yes, he does.
That title reign was over 7.5 years, 2 years longer than Bob Backlund's.
I was going to say,
from
so he
78 to
does have
83.
the longest one.
Yeah.
I knew it was either him or Backlund. I just didn't know for
Mm-hmm.
sure who it was.
What was it? Then he won it back, and he held that for 5 years after that, I think it was?
Mhm.
Somewhere around that ballpark.
25 years ago today, at the Manhattan Center on Monday Night Raw, Marty Jannetty had his first match back after being fired from after the 93 Rumble. and defeated Shawn Michaels for the Intercontinental title. I remember.
I would
this
say I
match.
remember it well.
I remember watching this match while it happened. It was his only singles championship that he ever held in the company. On that show, it is also the same show that the 1-2-3 Kid upset Razor Ramon 25 years ago today.
See? You never know when you got some surprises what could happen.
Also, 23 years ago today, Savio Vega made his WWF in-ring debut
Yoshi Kwang.
on the Action Zone
On the Action Zone, wow.
against Eli Blue, the Blues Brother, Sandman, in an elimination match. In ECW, he announced his retirement soon after. Retired for less than 2 months. He signed with WCW in the spring.
I think Stevie.
Then he would be released after he failed his physical.
Yeah, I think Stevie has retired and unretired at least
Oh, yeah.
8 times.
Yeah.
But I understand that he is a certified DDP yoga master, is in the best shape of his life, and makes ridiculous money teaching yoga.
Nice. Good for him.
20 years ago today, WCW Slamboree. Should I read the card down?
Well, hold on a second, because we're 20 years ago would be 1998. So we're probably getting real close to the end of WCW at this point. So please, go ahead.
I'm very interested.
Fit Finley defeated Chris Benoit to retain the television title.
Defeated who?
Chris Benoit.
Who?
Yeah.
I was going to say it
Vacant.
as well.
Vacant.
Lex Luger defeated Brian Adams, who, if you don't know who that is, it's Crush.
Dead.
Yes.
Ciclope defeated Chavo Guerrero Jr., Damien, El Dandy, El Guiro, Evan Courageous, Johnny Swinger, Juventud Guerrera, Kidman, Lenny Lane, Marty Jannetty,
Johnny Swinger.
Psychosis,
I loved him.
Silver King, Super Colo, and Vienno 4 in a battle royal to earn a WCW Cruiserweight Championship match. That
was
might
the
have been
one.
what he
No,
was
that was the
talking
one
about.
He burned
We didn't,
everyone.
we didn't
Yes,
even
it
know
was
that.
one.
That's unbelievable.
That is amazing.
That is a coincidence and a half.
Yes, that is the same
Wow.
guy Jericho burnt the entire Cruiserweight roster.
great.
Wow. I'm going to probably go back and watch that match tonight when on the network now. But that is the match that Maddie was referencing earlier. Maddie, too sweet on that, bro.
Nice.
Dean Malenko defeated Chris Jericho via submission to win the Cruiserweight Championship.
Dino Machino.
Diamond Dallas Page defeated Raven in a Bowery Death match. I don't even remember what the hell that was. Eddie Guerrero defeated Ultimo Dragon. Goldberg defeated Perry Saturn to retain the U.S. title. Bret Hart defeated Macho Man Randy Savage by DQ. Rowdy Piper was a special referee.
Yeah.
And
Freak
Sting
out.
and the Giant defeated the Outsiders, Kevin Nash, to win the tag team titles.
The Outsiders.
Yeah. Oh, God. 8 years ago, Bret Hart defeated The Miz via submission in a
That's
no
what we
DQ
were
match
talking about a week,
to
couple
win
weeks ago.
the U.S. title. We talked about that last week.
The jorts.
Jesus Christ.
Jorts.
Get to the big one.
Good Lord.
That's great. I love that. That is great.
Brooke Hogan signed with Impact Wrestling a couple years ago. The big one, guys,
Oh, boy.
which we are going to wrap up on. 2 years ago today, the Broken Dynasty began. The Broken Universe began. Jeff Hardy, he was the imposter Willow, was revealed to be Matt Hardy, who was broken. The first appearance of broken Matt Hardy on Impact Wrestling 2 years ago, or today. Interesting stuff, guys. Great conversation today. Thank you for Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, all you guys. You make this show fun and interesting. We appreciate it. Ryan the Brodo, Mr. I nicknamed myself. Great job over there on the ones and twos. Maddie, give us a read.
All right, then. Well, this was all brought to you by the wonderful Gibson Mayer, LLC.
Tremendous.
Your certified public accountants. They are located at 301 Oxford Valley Road in Yardley, PA. And you can give them a call at 215-369-3300. Be ready for tax season. Be ready, be prepared, and call Gibson Mayer.
And also, quick note, Lazy Booking is not on next week because we are taking time. We are taking off. We're taking a week off. We will be back the following week, guys. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your holiday because we won't talk to you before Memorial Day. Thank you guys for joining us. Have a good week.